Namo Buddhaya. To start our Dhamma talk today too, we will go for refuge to the Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and then we will observe the precepts. You can say with me, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to our most venerable teacher Bhante, our Pinnacle Swami Nohanse. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. So, to talk about the life of the Buddha, our program, based on the book recently our Pinnacle Swami Nohanse wrote, Acharya Manusso, the English translation, the Buddha, the marvelous sage. We are here to talk about many things about the Supreme Buddha. I think you all remember the stories we shared, stories we listened, and then many information about the Buddha, many information about his teaching, about his striving, and many things you remember. Today, we are going to start the second chapter of the book, turning the wheel of Dhamma, setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma, Dhamma Chakra Pavattana. So the preaching of the Supreme Buddha is called Dhamma Chakra, setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma. So the preaching. So in my background, the picture, the statue of the Supreme Buddha in the Mahameonau Toronto Monastery, the beautiful statue of the Supreme Buddha. You see that? So you see the hands of the Supreme Buddha. He has a gesture, hand gesture, like two hands keeping together. This is the Dhammachakra Mudra, or the gesture of the turning the wheel of Dhamma. This is the gesture, the statue you have. Today also, we are going to talk about the preaching of the Supreme Buddha, or teaching the Dhamma by the Supreme Buddha. Now, remember that the Supreme Buddha is just after his enlightenment, seated under the Bodhi tree. He attained the Buddhahood on the Vesak for a day, the full moon day. And you remember that after being the Supreme Buddha, he was looking for a teacher. Do you remember the story? Huh? And he was looking for someone who is higher than himself, higher than his virtue, higher than his wisdom, many things. But he was unable to find anyone else in the entire universe higher than the Supreme Buddha. So that the Supreme Buddha pointed his teaching, his own teaching, his own Dhamma as his teacher. Do you remember that? Now he is staying in the Rajayatana banyan tree, under the banyan tree called Rajayatana. And from Rajayatana banyan tree, Buddha moved to the goat herds banyan tree. In Sinhala you say Ajapala banyan tree, Ajapala Ruga. Seated under this goat herd banyan tree, he was thinking many things about the world. If I share this story a little bit. So the Buddha thought that this Dhamma, This Dhamma I understood. He thinks to himself. His Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching, he understood by himself is deep. This Dhamma is very, very profound, hard to understand. You know that in the entire samsara, he came fulfilling the perfections, dedicating his life, huh? Collecting good merit and developing the wholesome qualities. That was not a simple journey. Countless number of eons he came with much of dedications to become the Supreme Buddha in this eon for the benefit of multitude. Do you remember that? And he dedicated his life, his family, his wealth, his kingdom, and everything for the benefit of the people and devas in the era today. And as he was born as Prince Siddhartha, the final, the last birth of the Supreme Buddha. You remember? He had everything in his family, in the kingdom, but he had his great renunciation and went to the forest and strived for 6 long years, practicing the austere trainings in the forest, being in the forest, looking for the Buddhahood, looking for the liberation called Nibbana. Do you remember this story? And now he is the Buddha. He is seated under the Ajapala banyan tree, goatherd banyan tree. Things like this to himself. Oh, this Dhamma is very deep, I understood. This Dhamma is very profound, sublime, hard to understand, not easy to realize. Huh? Especially the noble truths. Noble truths. People, people and the devas are very attached to the sensual pleasures. Sensual pleasures by the eye, by the ear, by the nose, by the tongue, by the body. Whatever we see, whatever we hear, we are very much attached to the sensual pleasures, hindered by ignorance, fettered by craving. The people go on this samsara, endless journey. But those who are attached to the sensual pleasures, the devas, human beings, they are not capable to understand this profound Dhamma. He thinks to himself, is it true or false? That's very true, huh? Especially the noble truths, the suffering. If I preach about suffering to the world beings, they do not like to hear that. They are not able to understand the destruction of craving, dispassion, and cessation, nibbana, impermanence. So the beings are not able to think about this. So because of this, the Buddha understood this Dhamma with much effort, hardship and suffering. And he thinks that if I teach this Dhamma to the world, that would just be weariness to me. That would just be a mere effort. People will not understand devas, the world beings. And he became a little hesitant to teach this Dhamma, the sublime Dhamma. Why? Did you get the idea? Because he is not compassionate? No, it's not. Because he thinks that this Dhamma is very deep, very profound. People have to attach to the world and they will not pay attention. He thinks that if I preach this Dhamma, that would just be um, a mere trying, he thinks to himself. And then when he thinks that, he became hesitant. The Buddha became reluctant to teach his Dhamma to the world. And when the Buddha had this thought, someone in the Brahma world called Sahampati. Sahampati Brahma knew this idea occurred in the mind of the Supreme Buddha. Do you remember? Who remembers the Brahma Sahampati? We met this Brahma Sahampati in our previous episodes too. Anybody else who remembers about Sahampati Brahma? Maybe Dinudaham, do you remember Sahampati Brahma came to the Supreme Buddha? For what? Subodha? Kemit? Chamudi? Do you remember? No? Yes, Buddha, go ahead. Minupa? Sandesh? Remember when the Buddha was looking for a teacher for himself, huh? He thought to himself that there is no one ever in the world higher than me, and then I appoint my own Dhamma, my own teaching as my teacher, he thought to himself. And Brahma Sahampati knew about the idea occurred in the mind of the Supreme Buddha and came to the Supreme Buddha. Remember? Huh? And paid his homage, keeping his robe on his shoulder, kneeling down with one kneel on the ground, the right kneel on the ground. He paid his homage to the Supreme Buddha and said, what? In the previous Buddhas too had the same idea, the same feeling. They kept their Dhamma as their teachers too. Bhante, you are the Blessed One and you can keep the Dhamma for your teacher as your teacher. Remember that? And again, being in the Brahma world, King Sahampati knew the mind of the Supreme Buddha and he thought to himself, the Sahampati Brahma says, alas, the world is lost. See, the world is to perish without the teachings of the Sublime One. The world will be lost, he thought. And he cried out loud, my goodness, the world will be in suffering without the sublime Dhamma of the Supreme Buddha. The Buddha is hesitant to preach his Dhamma. And then he cried out loud. And this cry was heard throughout the 10,000-fold world system. And all the Devas, all the Brahmas in the 10,000-fold world system came to the Brahma Sahampati and said to himself, Sahampati, we should invite the Buddha to preach his sublime teaching to the world. And then, you know that before he was living in the Tusita heavenly world, our Mahabodhisattva. Do you remember the name of the Mahabodhisattva when he was in the Tusita heaven?
Santusita Devaraja.
Sadhu Sadhu. Santusita Divyaraja, the Deva Santusita, was invited by the Devas and Brahmas from 10,000 world system. Remember, that was also an invitation to come to the human world and to attain the Buddhaship. This time also, he was invited to preach his Dhamma by Brahma Sahampati. And then he came to the Supreme Buddha, invited. And then Buddha looked around the world to see the world beings of their capability. From now on, we will talk about this beautiful sutta called Ayachana Sutta or Brahma Ayachana Sutta. So I will share my screen now with all of you, and then you can join to read. See, do you see my screen clearly? Okay. The first say turning the wheel of yes, turning the wheel of Dhamma, Brahma Ayachana Sutta. We will talk about this beautiful discourse today, the appeal of Brahma. I give the first chapter to Imash and Shivan, Imasha and Shivan to read if you're happy.
So I have heard, at one time, when he was first awakened, the Buddha was staying near Uruvela at the root of the goat herd's banyan tree on the bank of the Niranjara river.
Sadhu Sadhu. What was the name of the banyan tree he was seated underneath?
Goat herd.
Goat herd. In Sinhala, you can say that this is Ajapala. Aja is the goat, Pala is the herd. Yeah. Anybody else to read the next part of the sutta? Volunteers?
I'm Buddha Bante. I can read the next part.
Good. Then this is your chance. Yes.
I'm a son also. Then, as he was in private retreat, this thought came to his mind. This principle I have discovered is deep, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful, sublime, beyond the scope of logic, subtle, comprehensible to the astute.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Do you agree about this? This Dhamma of the Supreme Buddha is profound, deep, hard to understand. Do you agree? We should agree. He thought to himself, the Buddha said to himself too. And then Goshin Medhavi. Can you read the next? Can you read the next Buddha?
Yes, Swaminathan.
Okay, good. Yeah.
But people like attachments. They love it and enjoy it. It's hard for them to see this thing, that is specific conditionality, depend origination. It's also hard for them to see this thing, that is the stilling of all activities, the letting go of all attachments, the ending of craving, fading away, cessation, excusement. And if I were to teach this principle, others might not understand me, which would be wearing and troublesome for me.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the beautiful reading. So why people are not able to understand the Dhamma? Anybody else again? Because they are too attached to the craving. They are too attached to the sensual pleasures. They would not pay their attention to the sublime Dhamma. Did you get it? Okay. And then next chance is for a volunteer reader.
Can I read some?
Yes? Who is this?
Subodha.
Subodha, your chance. Read beautifully. See the beautiful picture of the Supreme Buddha.
And then these verses, which were neither supernaturally inspired nor learned before in the past, occurred to the Buddha. I've struggled hard to realize this. Enough with trying to explain it. The principle is not easily understood by those stuck in greed and hate. Those caught up in greed can't see what's subtle, going against the stream, deep, hard to see, and very fine, for they're covered in a mass of darkness.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Many merits for your reading. The Dhamma of the Supreme Buddha is against the stream, like swimming against the stream. Did you get this meaning? It's not like the flow of the sensual pleasures. Like no, it's like the people and the Deva should have a different effort to follow the teachings to reach the Nibbana. It is not something that the normal, ordinary people do. Ordinary people can do. Did you get it? Clearly, Pute, understand and take the information into your mind, and then you will be very happy about the teachings and about the wisdom of the Supreme Buddha, and that will help you to grow your faith and Shraddha in your mind. Next chance is for, how about
Can I?
okay, but you might meet some unknown words, then don't worry about it, okay? Keep reading.
And as the Buddha reflected like this, his mind inclined to remaining passive, not to teaching the Dhamma. Then Brahma Sahampati, knowing what the Buddha was thinking, thought, "Oh my goodness, the world will be lost. The world will perish. For the mind of the realized one, the perfectly enlightened one, the fully awakened Buddha, inclines to remaining inactive, not to teaching the Dhamma."
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Rejoice in the good night. Who thought that, oh, alas, the world is lost? Who thought this?
Brahma Sahampati.
Very good, Brahma Sahampati thought that. Why? The Buddha is hesitant to preach. He doesn't like to preach his noble Dhamma. And then without this Dhamma, you know that these Brahmas and Devas, they were excited to listen to the Dhamma for the liberation. Now, Buddha is hesitant. Buddha is back, and he is not happy about teaching because the world is different, he thought. Next chance is for, is there Aga today?
Yes, Bhante.
Oh, your chance.
Then as easily as a strong person would extend or contract the arm, he vanished from the Brahma realm and reappeared in front of the Buddha. He arranged his robe over one shoulder, knelt with his right knee on the ground, raised his joint palm towards the Buddha and said,
Okay. The next part is for Nesara. Thank you for the beautiful reading, Aga. Sadhu, sadhu. Nesara, or how do you pronounce your name, Pute? Nesara or Nesara? Maybe. Or maybe Chamudi. Nesara next time, huh?
You may summon answer. Sir, let the Blessed One teach the Dhamma. Let the Holy One teach the Dhamma. There are beings with little dust in their eyes. Theirs declined, and because they haven't heard the teaching. There will be those who understand the teaching.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. See the Brahma Sahampati in the picture. Okay, this is the invitation. Thank you for your beautiful reading, Chamudi. And then the Brahma Sahampati invites and says beautiful gathas. These gathas are for Linda to read.
Avasaranante Bhante. This is what Brahma Sahampati said. Then he went on to say, Among the Magadhans, there appeared in the past an impure teaching thought up by those still blemished. Fling open the door to the deathless. Let them hear the teaching the perfect one discovered. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Beautiful reading. What are the impure teachings available in the time of the Supreme Buddha? Now the Buddha, the sublime one, is here to, he is the perfectly enlightened Buddha in the world with pure Dhamma for the true liberation from suffering. But in the Magadhans, Magadha is the country Buddha in India, there were many teachings, many wrong views, but they are not anyways helpful to the liberation of suffering. Preached by, if you remember, one person who talked about different kind of views as the liberation, as the Nibbana or something. Do you remember the names? If I say one name, that was Ajita Kesa Kambala. Someone else? Nigantanatha Putra. They said that this is the liberation and this is the, you don't want to practice Dhamma anyways or something, many things. Someone else, Ajita Kesa Kambala, Nigantanatha Putra. Someone else?
Pakoda Kachayana.
Pakuda Kachayana, very good. Someone else more? Yes,
sorry, Bante. Sanjaya Belataputta.
Sanjay Bellatiputta, very good. Someone else?
Makkali Gosala.
Makkali Gosala. And someone else? Purana Kashyapa. Okay, Purana Kashyapa, Makkali Gosala, Nigantanatha Putta, Ajita Kesa Kambala, and Pakuda Kachayana. Sanjay Bellatiputta, Ajita Kesa Kambala. These people, they were the teachers. They were very famous in the time of the Supreme Buddha, before the Supreme Buddha. And they preached, they taught different kind of teachings as the liberation. They are not sublime. They are not for the liberation, the true liberation. They are not for the perfect release from the suffering to Nibbana. Now the Buddha is hesitant. So Brahma Sahampati says, Bante, this country is filled with different kind of views. Preach your Dhamma. Teach your Dhamma to the entire world. The world beings will be fortunate to understand. Did you get it? Oh, this is the beautiful invitation by the Brahma Sahampati. Hiruputa, what about the next reading for you? Okay, the Brahma Sahampati furthermore says this.
Standing high on a rocky mountain, you can see people all around. In just the same way, all-seer wise one, having ascended the temple of truth, rid of sorrow, look upon the people, swamped with sorrow, oppressed by rebirth and old age.
So, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the beautiful reading. So the Buddha is there, the king, the Brahma Sahampati says this beautiful, huh? And then Dehan. Can you read the next part of the Gatha by the Brahma Sahampati? See the powerful words he used.
Okay. Rise, hero, victor in battle, leader of the caravan, wander the world without obligation. Let the Blessed One teach the Dhamma. There will be those who understand.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next part is a little longer. What about Dinudham? Thank you, Pute, for Dehan. Your reading is beautiful, huh? And then
Yeah,
the
Master.
Buddha looks at the world like this and he thinks, see the picture and then, yeah, we will understand what he says, things. Dinu?
Then the Buddha, understanding Brahma's invitation, surveyed the world with the eye of a Buddha. Because of his compassion for sentient beings, and the Buddha saw sentient beings with little dust in their eyes, and some with much dust in their eyes, with keen faculties and with weak faculties, with good qualities and with bad qualities, easy to teach and hard to teach. And some of them live seeing the danger in the fault to do with the next world, while others did not.
Sadhu, sadhu. See, this is how the Buddha looked at the world and he understood the nature. Here you see one word, it's very important. The eye of the Buddha. Did you see that word? With the eye of the Buddha in the second line, you see. What is the eye of the Buddha? He looked at the world with the eye of the Buddha. Eye of the Buddha. Anyone else to describe this word? This is a knowledge or wisdom gained by the Supreme Buddha by his own practice. One is Indriya Paro Pariyatta Jnana. In Pali, Indriya Paro Pariyatta Jnana. The knowledge of the spiritual faculties of beings. So with this knowledge, the Buddha can understand in the entire beings in the entire world have the spiritual faculties. How have they developed their spiritual faculties or something? Everybody else in the world, Buddha know about the qualities they have developed in the samsara. And then the other knowledge and the wisdom he gained is asayanusanyana, which means the knowledge of the spiritual strength and weaknesses of the people or beings. Remember, Indriya Paro Pariyatta Jnana and Asayanusanyana. With these two knowledges and wisdoms, so the Buddha looked at the world in search of the beings who are capable to understand. And when he was surveying the world, he understood and he found some beings are a few defilements. They have developed their minds and they have a few defilements. When the Buddha preached the Dhamma, they can understand some beings have many defilements. Some beings have developed the spiritual faculties and some have not been doing this. And some world beings can easily understand, they can understand them. And some people have their many difficulties to understand. And some people cannot understand this Dhamma at all. See the wisdom and the eye of the Buddha, he noticed and he understood, he recognized. And some people are fear of the suffering in the next world. And then when the Buddha preaches Dhamma, they would practice this Dhamma for the benefit and happiness and protection for their next world. This is how the Buddha noticed, the Buddha recognized this world with his eye of the Buddha. Did you get that? Even before the King Sahampati came and invited the Supreme Buddha, Buddha knew about the world, but he thought that to himself, this is a profound Dhamma. This is very deep, and people will have hard times to understand. The next part is also beautiful. It's about the lotus pond. Lotus pond with many kinds of beautiful lotus flowers. Sandesh, what about your reading? Then your chance.
It's like a pool with blue water, lilies or pink or white lotuses. Some of them grow in the water without rising above it, flourishing underwater. Some of them grow in the water, reaching the water's surface. And some of them grow in the water but rise up above the water and stand with no water clinging to them.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. How about, have you ever seen a lotus pond? Or maybe a lake, or maybe a tank or something with lotus flowers? Maybe you have seen that some birds are inside the water and they are like, they have just came up from the bush, huh? Now they need some time to come up, and then they need some time and sunlight to bloom. And some lotus buds, they have grown to the maturity, but they need some time to come to the surface of the water, and they need sunlight to bloom. And some lotus buds, they have come upon the water. They are on the surface of the water, above the water, remaining and waiting for the sunlight to bloom. Have you ever seen this kind of incidents before? I think yes. And Buddha, see the picture, the beautiful picture. He is sitting and then observing the world, but do not misunderstand about the picture, okay? The picture is like the Buddha is like taking flowers from a lotus pond. No, it's not. The picture is like Buddha picking up flowers or something. No, it's not. It's the picture is it's an art Buddha, and then it is the observation of the Supreme Buddha about the world. It's a simile. It's a simile. Some birds, some birds, the lotus buds, they are not grown up. They are not matured. They would sometime become. In the same way, the world, some people have many defilements. They need to grow. They need to develop. Some world beings, they have matured, they have fulfilled their merits, their wholesome activities, but they need sunlight to bloom. What's the sunlight in the simile? What's the sunlight in the simile, Subodha?
Yeah. Is the Dhamma.
Dhamma. For example, our Venerable Sariputta Arahant Bhante. Sariputta Venerable Arahant Bhante was the foremost monk in the dispensation in wisdom. But he was very wise, and his spiritual faculties were very matured to understand. But he needed Dhamma. He needed Dhamma. That's the sunlight. Some people like you, like me, some people in the world, we need to practice a lot. We need to collect good merits. We need to develop the wholesome qualities. We need the protection in our next world too. Buddha noticed all the people and they need the Dhamma. This is like what? The world is like what? Again? Like, yes.
A lotus pond?
Yeah, it is like a lotus pond. It's like a lotus pond. Good. So, Kemit, are you able to read the next part? Good.
In the same way, the Buddha saw sentient beings with little dust in their eyes, and some with much dust in their eyes, with keen faculties and with weak faculties, with good qualities and with bad qualities, easy to teach and hard to teach. And some of them lived seeing the danger and the fault to do with an absurd, while others did not.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the beautiful reading. And then Maitri. Oh, Maitri, the daughter or a son. How about your next reading? Yes. It's not that.
So then Brahma Sampati, knowing that this request of Buddha to teach the Dhamma had been granted bold and respectfully circled, the Buddha kept him keeping him on his right before vanishing right there.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the beautiful reading. Huh? So the king, the Brahma Sahampati, knew that the Buddha accepted the invitation and he paid his homage to the Supreme, the sacred, the Supreme Buddha, and went back to the Brahma world. Then, do you remember this beautiful scenario? So the Buddha had an idea about the world, and then the Brahma Sahampati came and invited, and then the Buddha looked at the world as a lotus pond and decided to preach the Dhamma. Buddha noticed this world as a lotus pond, like a lotus pond. Some beings are different, they have developed qualities like that. Maybe the next, yes.
Can I read next time?
Oh yes, this is your chance. Your chance. And now you understand that Puti, the Buddha decided to preach the Dhamma. Now he is here to preach the Dhamma. Now, to whom can he preach? Okay, this is the next part. Yes, you can go ahead. Yeah, let me have a little.
Whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, Allah Kalama is wise, intelligent, and discerning. He has long had little dust in his eyes. Suppose I taught him the Dhamma first to Allah Kalama. He will understand it quickly.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the reading. Remember Alar Kalama? When the Buddha was in the forest, he needed a teacher as the Mahabodhisattva before his enlightenment. And he was looking for a teacher and he went to Alar Kalama. The picture, Alar Kalama is sitting and the Mahabodhisattva is going to him and then asking for some teaching. For the liberation, for Nibbana. He taught the meditation, deep meditation, but the Mahabodhisattva understood this is not the correct teaching for the permanent liberation from suffering. And he left. But after becoming the Supreme Buddha, the Buddha noticed, Alar Kalama is wise, Alar Kalama is intelligent. If I preach this Dhamma, he will quickly understand. So he decided to preach this Dhamma firstly to Alar Kalama. But what happens? What happens next? Do Akna. Are you here? No? If you're here, you can read the next part, or maybe someone else. Someone else, maybe.
Woman Wasa, can I read?
Yes.
Then deities approached me and said, Venerable Sir, Alar Kalama died 7 days ago, and the knowledge and vision arose in me. Alar Kalama died 7 days ago. I thought, Alar Kalama's loss is a great one. If he had heard this Dhamma, he would have understood it quickly.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. How do you understand this? See the merit of the people. Alar Kalama died 7 days ago. Yes. He died 7 days ago. deities came, and the Buddha also noticed that he died. He lost this great opportunity. He lost the great chance to understand the Dhamma. Now he is in a very far away Brahma world, and they do not hear the Dhamma. They are very far from the human world. And then he lost. Okay, Dehan.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Ken.
So after Allah Kalama died, what heavenly world or hell world did he? What heavenly world did he was he born?
It's a good question. Alara Kalama was born in a very far away. It was a Brahma world in Neva Sanya Na Sanyayatana world, which means like very far away Brahma world. And next, Buddha decided to preach to someone else. Next part goes to Gauri and with me Rajapaksa.
I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, Uddaka Ramaputta is wise, intelligent, and discerning. He has long and little dust in his eyes. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to Uddaka Ramaputta. He will understand it quickly.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good children. Next time, the Buddha thought that yes, if I go to Uddaka Ramaputta is the same person like Buddha decided to preach Uddaka Ramaputta too, but unfortunately, what happens? Next, someone else to read.
Can I read an answer?
Yes.
Then deities approached me and said, Venerable Sir, the Ramaputta died last night, and the knowledge and vision arose in me. The Ramaputta died last night. I thought that the Ramaputta's loss is a great one. If he had heard this Dhamma, he would have understood it quickly.
Yeah, sadhu, sadhu. Uddaka Ramaputta also died last night. See how they were like very unfortunate. They did not meet this Dhamma. Even though they were very wise, even though they have spiritual faculties very developed, they lost the opportunity. What was the reason? They did not have that merit to meet the Supreme Buddha, to listen to the beautiful Dhamma of the Buddha and to understand. They died. See, Alala Kalama died 7 days ago. Uddaka Ramaputta died last night. See, finally, they lost the opportunity, and they were born in a far away Brahma world. Not to listen to the Dhamma, they do not pay attention. But you know, when the Buddha preached the first discourse, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, all the Devas and Brahmas until Akanittaka Brahma world, they could hear, they could listen, they could understand. But the Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta, they were born in a far away Brahma world. They did not hear the Dhamma. They did not pay their attention. They did not understand. They are still there. See, they lost their opportunity in a very unfortunate manner. So today we talk about the Ayachana Sutta or Brahma Ayachana Sutta. So the Buddha is about to preach his sublime Dhamma. The Buddha is to share his noble Dhamma with the people and the Devas in the world. But he was a little bit of hesitant to preach this Dhamma because this world is attached to the sensual pleasures, attached to the so much of happiness in the world, and they will not understand that what he had in his mind. But Sahampati Brahma came and invited the Supreme Buddha. He was shocked, and then he came to the Supreme Buddha. He invited the Buddha to preach the Dhamma. Buddha noticed this world as a lotus pond with lotus buds, white, yellow, blue, underneath the water, coming up to rise and bloom with the sunlight, with the help of sunlight. That's how he looked at the world. The world is like that. The beings, some people have spiritual faculties grown and developed. Some people are not. Some people have full of defilements and some are not. Some will practice this Dhamma and will be born in a good destination after death or something. Some people are very capable to understand just as they hear this Dhamma and understand. And then he decided to preach this Dhamma with the people. And then he looked around, who is the first person that I can share my teachings? Alara Kalama died 7 days ago. Uddakaramaputta died last night. Then to whom will he preach the Dhamma? We will talk more about his preaching the 4th week of the month. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.